So I would like to just start the next part of the evening by thanking some of the volunteers that help make Open Cinema possible. The following people are very generously donating their time to help Open Cinema as it to help Open Cinema's events. Sorry, I'm a bit scattered. During that whole film, the Open Cinema website was down, and we managed to get it fixed during that time, so I'm a little breathless, but it's all good. A big round of applause for Pink Sheep Media, who are our website folks who managed to fix it during that time. Woohoo! So a big thank you to the following folks who make Open Cinema tick, because we depend on volunteers. Eleanor Calder, Alan McLash, Joseph Krancevic, Holly Pattison, Robert and Susan Thompson, Elizabeth and Donald Asmere Stewart, Bill Wilson, Kay Lovett, Trinita Waller, Lee Fuge, Rona McAdam, Patty, Patty, I don't know your last name. Parkos? Patty Parkos, and Jay Scott in the back there at the pizza. Big thank you to those folks. And a huge thank you to our tweeters on the power bar there who are connecting us with the virtual world as we speak. Thank you to Mary Lou Wakefield, Carolyn Michaels, Susan Taichi, and Stephanie Slater. And, of course, a big thank you to Kip Pastor, who is on Twitter right now. And I think he sent us a photo. Can we put that up so that we have a sense of Kip Pastor? That will happen momentarily. So in the meantime, Open Cinema is a program of MediaNet. MediaNet is a resource center offering workshops and equipment at incredibly low rates. And the MediaNet team are here tonight. They're a great team that have made Open Cinema happen over the last 5 years. Caitlin Lewis is, where's Caitlin? There she is in the box office. Kirk Schwartz is up at the top. And also a big thank you to Ellie, who is also, I don't think I thanked you in our volunteer thank you. Ellie has been helping Kirk with the tech, and we're very, very grateful for you. Thanks. And I will be introducing Peter Sandmark momentarily, and he is the Executive Director of MediaNet. But first, a thank you to our sponsors, Vancity, the Capital Regional District Arts Development Program, BC Arts Council, Canada Council, Pink Sheep Media, Hemp & Company. I think I see Lorna and Bill here. Thank you so much. Bubby Rose's Bakery, Fernwood Coffee, the Joint Pizzeria, and our new sponsor, Infuse Tea. And thank you to the viewers yourselves. Your donations make up a significant portion of our annual budget, so we really appreciate your donations at the door and your attendance in our community building initiative here. And we do encourage you to fill out your feedback forms. Any feedback that you have is really welcome to us. It helps us make our event more relevant to you. So now for some door prizes. Sure, let's get Peter to pick the door prizes. So we have a book, Zero Mile Diet Cookbook, Carolyn Harriet's new book. And Peter's gonna, can we have a drum roll, please? And the number is 068-1134. The last four digits are 1134. Do we have a winner for Carolyn Harriet's Zero Mile Diet Cookbook? 1134. 1134 going once. Going twice. 1134 going a final time. We're going to throw that one away. We'll try another. Okay. This time, the last three digits are 1139. Oh, a ripple. We have a winner. Woohoo! Lovely. Peter, maybe you could hand that to him. And I'm going to move on to the next door prize. We have Rona McAdam's Digging the City, an Urban Agriculture Manifesto. And Rona is here. Where's Rona? Here's Rona. So Rona's book. And that number is... the number is 1167. Oh, I've got a ripple over here somewhere. Oh. Lovely. Yeah. And one final door prize, All the Dirt, by Heather Stretch and Rachel Fisher and Robin Tunnicliffe. And we have Heather Stretch here tonight, right here. And who is that lucky winner going to be? Oh, Peter, you're so good at this. 1191. 1191. Well done. Nice. So thank you very much to those three authors, or three sets of authors, for donating those books for our door prize. So now I would like to introduce our moderator for tonight. He's a talented media artist, an inspiring and quiet community leader, and he's the executive director of MediaNet. And I want to say that I'm personally very grateful to Peter because he has supported Open Cinema over the last 5 years to the extent that, had he not, I doubt very much that we would be here tonight. So he's a man of many talents, and you may have actually seen him at the Victoria Downtown Public Market playing rockabilly music under the name of Slim Sandy. Woohoo! But he's here tonight to moderate our discussion, so please welcome Peter Sandmark.
Come on up, folks. So where's our panel? Let's get everybody up here. Thank you so much, Mandy. Look, Open Space wouldn't work without Mandy, let's face it. Open Cinema. Open Cinema. I got that right. Thank you. All right. It is. It's just the three of you. So thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. What a great film. I was a little depressed in the middle part. Got a little bad, but then we ended well. So let's welcome our panelists here. We have with us an organic gardener on your far right, a photographer, a lecturer, a cook who loves to eat. For 20 years, operating the Garden Path Center with Seeds of Victoria. I wonder if I can buy some of those seeds. I'm worried that people are going to buy them all. Oh, we'll do that later. Okay. And of course, the author of the 0 Mile Diet, a year-round guide to growing organic food. Please welcome Carolyn Harriott. I'm going to jump around. Right next to me, a past certified grower, an organic consultant for Thrifties. There's not many of us can say that. From Central Saanich, the founding chair of the Growing Young Farmers, who, by the way, you can find out more information over there, dedicated to educating youth about food security issues, providing youth with hands-on opportunities, learn how to grow healthy and environmentally friendly food, and encouraging community partnerships as foundations. Mr. Organic himself, put your hands together for David Friend. I'm going to mention just someone. David, thank you so much for stepping in because Angela Moran couldn't make it, and of course she's working for the Mason Street Urban Farm. No doubt many of you have passed by Mason Street. It's quite visible, and she took it over in 2006. Grows organic veggies and chicken. She's a mother, a farmer, a flamenco dancer. It's too bad we didn't get a chance to see that. But I just wanted to mention a brief bit about. David is going to do some flamenco shortly. They just had a fundraising campaign. They raised $14,000 in 30 days. 90% of the funding coming from Victoria residents. It's a testament, she writes, to the kind of food system that Victoria residents want. And their mission to provide farming skills and food education to marginalized communities in Victoria, increase access to local organic food, and valuing the work that farmers are doing to provide local healthy food. So we're sorry we miss Angela. Now, last but not least on our panel here today, 10 years ago, with her husband Lamont, she started Northbrook Farm with the hope that they would bring together her environmentalism, love for food, and enjoyment of challenging outdoor work. We all love that. The co-author of the book, All the Dirt, and co-owner of Saanich Organics, the woman with yoga in her name, Heather Stretch. Well, so let's start with you, Heather. There's a lot to say about the film. Did you enjoy the film, folks? I think it gave us lots to think about. And Heather, why don't you start off and tell us what you, the kind of work that you do and how you think that's addressing some of the issues we saw raised in the film.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me. What do? I'm a farmer with Saanich Organics. That introduction was written a couple of years ago, because it's now 13 years ago I came.
So sorry.
But I feel like in a farming career, 13 years is just a beginning. I'm learning a lot every year. It's an exciting time for Saanich Organics this spring. We're expanding a bit. One of my partners, Robin, is moving to a larger piece of land, taking over some well-cared-for soil. Thank you, Ian. In Metchosin, so we're expanding into the western communities. We've just moved into a bigger space where we're going to pack our boxes. So Saanich Organics is a collection of a group of certified organic small-scale farmers that work together so that we can grow with the kinds of techniques that steward our soil and grow good, healthy food on a small enough scale that we can do it very carefully and very well. But by working together, we get some efficiency to allow us to share our knowledge, to share some resources like a great delivery guy and a bookkeeper and an unbelievably great administrator, and create a more efficient. By working together, we allow each of our farms to remain sustainable, both environmentally and financially, which is a really, really big part of it when you're doing small-scale certified organic production. The one thing I want to say about the film, which I enjoyed very much, is I don't know how much y'all are going to want to get into the nitty-gritty of what organic certification means on this island. I'd be happy to get into that. I'd be happy to get into that in private conversations later. But I just want to say it's not quite as dire here as the picture portrayed in the film. Yeah, it's a bit big. It's a bit bureaucratic, but it's closer to the roots of a farmer-initiated and farmer-run certification system here in Canada than it is in the USDA system. And particularly, we're really lucky on Vancouver Island and the Gulf Islands to still have a fantastic regional certifier, which is the Islands Organic Producers Association. So you can look for IOPA. That really is still a farmer-run, volunteer-run organization that certifies local farms. And it certifies local farms only. It only certifies farms that do not sell across provincial and national borders, which is pretty cool. Yeah, maybe that's all I want to say about IOPA right now.
Okay, thank you, Heather. So I want to point out also that this is being streamed. Am I not correct? It is happening. So this is going out, and we have people watching the talk. They couldn't watch the film for various copyright reasons, but the talk can be seen on the internet. And so we are going to entertain some questions, not only from anybody here in the audience, but also from people watching online. So perhaps we can turn to David. And we noticed that in the film, education of the youth, the future of farming is there, and it was so important. So perhaps you could talk a bit about your program, Growing Young Farmers, and how you're addressing the issues they raised.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, picking up on Heather's point, as a past certified grower, organic grower, the standards and the rules and regs are far more tighter still. And it's a bit since I've grown certified organic, but I think I'm right in saying that they are tighter here than the USDA regulations, so that's a nice thing. And I started my life as a certified organic grower as a woofer. Oh,
okay, David, what's a woofer?
Willing workers on organic farms. So you go to organic farms, and that's how I got into it. You don't get paid, you help to grow the food, you eat the food, and you get accommodation. So that's how I started in the UK, and the standards there under the Soil Association were very, very tight, very, very strict, and I hope they still are. But how did I pick up on the film? I'm probably one of the oldest people here. I thought it was a bit long, but I thought it had some great points, and of course on the education, You know, having been a grower, having been a consultant, having been a little bit of an international educator on food insecurity, I thought this is crazy. When I found out on Vancouver Island, beautiful food-growing Vancouver Island, that would become so dependent on imported food, I thought, what can I do in my small way? Yeah, there's lots of great growers, but by then, naturally, I was going away from the growing away. Thrift is wanting me to promote local staff and do seminars for all the directors and board members and staff about certified organic, etc. I started volunteering my time in the schools, and all of a sudden, ding, the light went on, and I thought, really, somebody should be teaching these kids from whatever age right up through about insecurity and what that really means on the island. And it means growing more local, health-friendly organic food. And so I'm based in central Saanich, and on the peninsula there in School District 63, there's about 8,000 kids. And in Victoria, School District 61, there's about 12,000 kids. There's 20,000 kids. If you're going to applaud, throw money as well, please. Thank you. We need the money for the foundation. Sorry. So there's a lot of kids that can grow food. And you know, what really, really pushed me when I found out for sure that the dependence on imported food meant that if the transportation stopped, so it's whatever day it is, it's Wednesday, if that transportation stopped now, you've got 3 days only of food in your supermarkets and restaurants. Where do 99% of us buy our food? Supermarkets and restaurants. So it stops now. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, this Saturday, not next week, next year, 100 years down the road, you'd be out of food in your supermarkets and how stupid is that? I didn't swear. I'm from England, we don't swear. Okay, so, no, on a serious note, how stupid is that? So what I'm trying to do through the school program, Growing Young Farmers, and now we have a society, a non-profit registered society. We're looking for funding. We're looking for more people so I can get it into more schools. I've been doing my thing, up to 255 kids a week. I've been organically educating. That's not enough. I want more people. I'm fortunate I can volunteer my time, but I want to pay people. So this is a plug for the society. I'm not embarrassed about that. We need funding. We need people to get into more and more schools. The schools haven't got any money. You know, they say it's a great program, Dave, Dr. Kevin Elder, Superintendent School 63, you know, Dave and Kevin having a beer, no money, but yeah, we'll support you. So it has to happen. You know, everything has to happen. There's all kinds of links. I believe the kids are one of the most important things, and that's what I focused on. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, David. Let's pass it on over. And, of course, what the film leaves us with, maybe more than anything else, is this urgency for local food, and probably your book addresses it. Carolyn, can you speak a bit about your philosophy, the Zero Mile Diet, and the work you do?
Yeah, that was a good film. It made me hungry. But actually, I think it left out the main thing, was missing from the film as far as I was concerned. And I think that we're at this sort of crossroads right now where we really need to identify the issues clearly in terms of the big picture. And two things that spring to mind. One is, and they discussed this on CBC this morning, on a mainstream morning show, which I was very glad to hear discussed, following the fact that last night, whenever President Obama took the inauguration and then said to everyone watching that now he will take this next 4 years, he has a mandate, to start to work on the issues that really, really matter to us, that's going to make the difference between whether we pull this off or whether we don't. And I think that right now, this movie certainly did emphasize the situation, but one of the most critical issues, I never heard the word genetic modification mentioned once in this film. Once is not enough. And that's the problem, because it seems to me that light is terrible. It's, yeah. Oh, thank you. I'd like to see you all. I like to see my community. I like to see the people that we're going to be working together, because we are, and it's going to happen now. And stand back, because this is going to be an incredibly exciting journey that we're about to embark upon. Why? Because the fact is that the level of ignorance around the whole issues, that came out in the beginning of the film, but the level of cover-up over the whole issue around genetic modification of food is something that has been covered up. It is not spoken about in the media. We are not getting our foods labeled. After the last election, it was clear to me there is a media blackout on the word genetic modification and biotechnology of foods, because they mentioned all the referendums on, things like, there was many of them. Well, legalization of cannabis was one of them. That was well covered in the media. I waited. Am I going to read about the Prop 37 in California? Am I going to hear it discussed on the television? No, it wasn't. Am I going to hear it discussed on the radio? No. Was it in the newspaper? No. Was it in maybe an alternative press on the internet? Yes. Because 4 million people in California are now wiser and voted that they wanted their food to be labeled, but they never actually talked about the result of Prop 37. Except on the alternative, thank God for the internet. They do not coexist. We got to understand something, and we're only just figuring out, number one, who are we? What are we? What are we doing on this planet? Where are we going? And fundamentally, why is it that we have reached a point in our so-called progress where we actually still don't know how to feed ourselves, but yet we are probing planet Mars? There's something fundamentally wrong with a species of people, Homo sapiens, that have the audacity to manipulate genes when they actually still don't know how to feed their own precious bodies, because actually we are not aware of the miraculous organisms that we are. Having just written this cookbook took me the next step. You go deeper and deeper when you start becoming interested in something. And I became interested in food, nutrition, growing the food, what is it about the food, all the politics around genetics and around organics. We were part of this movement. We came together. We discussed these things ad infinitum. What's acceptable? What's not? The philosophy is how it started. For 35 years, concerned people developed the philosophy of organics. And as far as I'm concerned now, the word organic is meaningless. The word natural is meaningless. It is a marketing ploy, it's clear. But when you scrape all that stuff away and you get right down to the actual essence and core of the issue is they do not coexist. Organic agriculture and conventional agriculture using industrial methods with biotech future. The governments of the world, we need to understand this, have policies. What are they? We are going to feed the people using genetically modified food. Is a government policy. Therefore, everything that comes down from government is on those lines. And that's why they've got it backwards. They're penalizing those that are trying to make sense of this, the organic farmers who are caretaking the soil. And again, we'll get onto this because I'm sure you're bursting with hundreds and thousands of questions and the time is short. The issue is this. This is who we are. We have evolved naturally eating food grown in soil. Vibrant soil, not contaminated by anything, ripened by the sun, and the phytonutrient content, which is the entire purpose of eating food in the first place, to feed these complex organisms that are bodies that we inhabit as spiritual beings. Another thing that we need to discuss now that we're in 2013, it's okay to be a spiritual being in a human body. But it's time that, darlings, we learned how to feed these precious temples that house our spiritual beings properly. I wrote the book, and I discovered something. You're going to have to make a choice now. Is it going to be organic, real food grown in nurtured soil that actually has the ability, because it's intact and nurtured, for the food growing in it to be able to absorb the nutrient in the soil? That's the key. It's all about the microbes. When you use conventional methods of growing food, you destroy the soil. There's not much topsoil left now on this planet with which to feed ourselves. We need to make this decision. We're not going to make it otherwise. So, nutrients in the soil, nutrients to the food. You eat the food. Good. Then what? Through the digestive system and into the stomach. If you, unfortunately, most of us have compromised gut flora, and now we're just finding out that, again, it's all about the microbes. When you give a 6-month-old baby antibiotics, you've condemned that child to live a life. It starts right there. The gut flora destroyed. Every time the doctor prescribes antibiotics, compromise the gut flora. It is, again, doesn't matter what you eat, but if you have got a compromised, unbalanced gut flora, you're not absorbing it anyway. It's time we learned about fermented foods and the role in all this. I'm going to shut up now because I think I've said enough. But the thing is that it's either or. They do not coexist. They cancel each other out. Do we go back to my vision? It's all organic. We're not having this anymore. Let's get with the picture. Feed the soil, feed the body, and we'll be okay in the future.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you very much. Some very tough some questions. So let's see if someone right away has some questions. We do have a microphone that is wandering around. Thank you so much for bringing that microphone around. And of course, we can also entertain questions from the internet, people who are watching or listening on the internet. And we have a question over here. So thank you very much. We're going to...
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hello. I have a real problem with the word organic and then conventional food, because how long has conventional food been conventional food? And how long have we been on this earth?
Go ahead, Heather.
I laugh at those terms myself, mostly because my grandfather used to laugh at me because he was, he farmed before the Second World War. And so he's like, yeah, I guess I was an organic farmer. I don't know. There wasn't really an alternative. And that's also why I say that as a farmer of 13 years experience, I'm a very new farmer, because it was not long ago, and still in most parts of the world, people farmed on land that had been, the same plot of land farmed in their family for not just decades, but centuries. And so I think that farmers knew their soil so much more intimately than we do now. And there's no way that a farmer can intimately know her or his soil if she or he is farming 10,000 acres. And my short history of farming in 13 years, the only way that I think I can sort of compensate for that lack of experience is this amazing farming community that we have here. So that's one thing I want to share that's really encouraging about this region, is the farmers who mentored me passed on this very strong philosophy that we are not each other's competitors, and the small-scale organic and sustainable farming community here, that we're each other's colleagues. And so for those of you who aren't actually in the farming community, I just want to let you know it's an amazing community to work in, and there's just a ton of information sharing. So we compensate a little bit for our short number of years of experience by combining those years of experience among farmers. Because you're right, I mean, the farming system that we're trying to take the best of farming systems that are centuries old, but also, of course, learning from the subsequent years.
All right, I'm just going to, I've got a question. I hope that helped, actually. I mean, it sounds like we've got to, it's just a return to pre-World War II farming. But anyway, we have a question from someone on Twitter. Go ahead.
Hi, I just want to say that we do have a couple of comments on Twitter from the filmmaker. So before I share that, I just wondered if we could give him a YYJ welcome and let him know that we're here.
Let's show the love for the film. Thank you very much, Kip.
So he makes a couple of comments. One is he didn't go too much into the GMO issue because he feels that that's a film in and of itself. And if you want to check out something specific to GMO, there's hashtag Future of Food. And you can find all of this on the tweet chat under the hashtag Open Cinema. All of this information is posted there. His other comment was that he has written an op-ed piece about Proposition 37. And again, he puts the link to it on the stream. And then the last thing is a comment from his handle is Vegan Cyclist. And he makes a comment that animal products have higher greenhouse gases than transported vegan foods.
Aha, very good. Thank you. So can I just double check that? Did you say it was hashtag GMO free food? Was that right? I guess it will be on there if someone's interested. You can.
It's hashtag Future of Food.
Future of food, sorry. Okay. Yes. Yes, David.
Just a brief thing on GMO stuff. There's a movie, it's a bit dated now, called The Future of Food. And if you haven't seen it, it's still a good one to see. And sorry, Caroline, stole your I looked at your notes there. I didn't. We go back, way back. So The Future of Food, and the main thing that stuck out in my mind was the fact that, and I tend to swear when I say this word, but I'll try not to, and then sometimes I spew up when I say this word, and I'll try not. Monsanto. So what I got from that movie is that what was happening, executives of Monsanto, after a certain time, were going to the Senate, and after a certain time, we're going back to Monsanto. And that was a few years ago now, and I think what they're doing is absolutely criminal. I really do. So, and that's GMO. So I just want to comment on a personal note on that. Thank you.
Thank you, David. It seems like we are opening up the can. The fact that it is there's a lot of political issues involved here because we're talking about regulation. Yes, sir.
Yes.
A question.
It's just quickly about this conventional and organic thing. It's going back to the original people that were here gardening and doing clam gardens and this kind of thing. When the Europeans came, they looked at these people and thought that they were just a bunch of nuts, and they were really advanced, and they were really fitting themselves into the environment and growing and developing beaches for clams and salmon berries and whatever, making the whole thing work. But my question to Carolyn is about kefir. What can you tell us about kefir, and will that help us develop an intestinal flora that will help rectify any kefir or kefir? Some people call it.
Oh, kefir.
Everybody calls it a different name.
Cape Fear.
Cape Fear.
And I went,
Welcome
what?
to Cape Fear.
Cape Fear. Yeah, kefir. I can tell you lots about anything that's fermented. Unfortunately, North Americans don't eat enough fermented foods. But when you go back to traditional diets like Japan, miso, when you go to Germany, sauerkraut, kimchi, Korea, and, we eat a lot of yogurt, but a lot of it's got gelatin and sugar and God knows what in it. But yeah, there's some quality, great yogurts out there too. It's really important to get that balance because, they are fundamentally killing us off with all these, I see it like the real food thing. I don't buy supplements. I used to, because I was concerned about the fact that the nutrition was lacking and missing from the food, even though I try to eat as well as I possibly can, because I fundamentally believe that when I get to old age, you know, we're sort of getting there, aren't we, quickly now, 25% of us will soon be over 65. It's not about success, is about the quality of life, you know, when you get to old age, like what sort of state are you going to be in? And what you eat is going to really determine, you know, whether you've got soft bones or whether your brain is still intact or not, because whether have you fed your body or not, you know, throughout. It's only so much forgiving. The body can only forgive what we throw at our bodies and expect them to tolerate, and then get surprised when we get sick, like, oh dear, I got sick. Well, excuse me, you know, really, we've forgotten how to take care of ourselves. You know, this is one of the basic things. Get the nutrition back in school, teach the kids what they fundamentally need to know. And let's talk about quality of life over how much profit can be made around this whole thing.
So where do we get this Cape Fear stuff?
Cape Fear. No, I thought he was accusing me of scaring people by mentioning GMO. That I'm not about. I don't spend any time afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm actually really inspired, especially by the fact that I live in this part of the world, because I absolutely believe that on Vancouver Island and the coastal islands, we're going to do this together. We're ready. We're motivated. We have the mindset. We have the community. We've got everything we need: the land, the water, the peace, the trust, and the climate. And I fundamentally think we're ready to go. Let's just do it.
So just Google that Cape. Yes. Oh, here, another question.
Hi. Yeah, I just had a question about, I came from Alberta growing up in farming communities.
Speak louder, please. Yeah.
Came from Alberta growing up in farming communities, and seeds were always a very important thing, and I wondered if maybe someone could talk about seeds.
So sort of like where can we get non-GMO seeds?
Heirloom seeds or that kind of thing.
Take a shot at it.
Seeds are a really important piece of the puzzle. It's challenging because of the conglomeration or the increasing consolidation of a lot of seed companies. I mean, we all know Monsanto, we don't want to support them. But what we might not know is that they own a lot of the seed companies that we may think are smaller, like Cascadia Farms being owned by Kellogg's. It's the same as all the seed companies being owned by Monsanto. But there are some great local and bioregional seed companies around here. For edible seeds, I mean, Seeds of Victoria is fabulous.
On sale tonight.
Out of the interior, I love Stellar Seeds. They're available online. Salt Spring Seeds is great. Saanich Organics has started a seed business called Seeds of the Revolution. Our seed grower, Lisa, is here tonight, and we've been on this journey together to learn about plant breeding and seed saving. It's been great. We're sort of 2 years into, being pretty serious about our seed production. So there's, and we're so lucky, there's Seedy Saturdays all around BC. So look for Seedy Saturdays. And then if you do need to get something that you can't find locally, beyond, then I start to look at West Coast Seeds and actually Johnny's Select Seeds out of Maine. It's not a local company, but it's a very good company. For a bit larger scale, a bit more variety, some things that we don't have here.
All right. I'm just gonna mention Johnny's won't sign the Safe Seed Pledge. Well, it's controversial, obviously. There's an allegation that Johnny's is They just won't sign it.
So
David.
so I just need to clarify. You're saying Johnny's as opposed to West Coast Seeds? Is that what you... Oh, I thought you were saying West Coast Seeds. So just a minute on that, just so I'm not promoting that particularly because only the other Saturday at Halliburton I bought some of Caroline's seeds for the kids to grow. So two things on that, on saving seeds. Part and parcel of what we do in the Growing Young Farmers School program is getting the kids to save the seeds and all what that means. And then the other thing in terms of using a seed guide catalog as a Bible for the kids, and I just ended up using West Coast Seeds gardening guide more than that because on page 5 or 7 there's what you can grow, when you can grow, how you can grow it, and it's very simple for kids to understand that. So I was a bit concerned and about West Coast Seeds buying GMOs, but not good. So yeah, so saving seeds is huge. It's a huge part, and it gets round. It's a little way of getting around that terrible word beginning with M and ending in Monsanto. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. No, I'm repeating things so that people who are only listening on the internet can hear it, and that's why, for legal reasons, I was told to say it's an allegation. I have a question over here. Yes. Sorry, where's the microphone?
I have the feeling that the situation on Vancouver Island is a bit exceptional. It's not the normal situation, because if we look out a little bit further out, all the large governments in this world claim that we cannot feed the population without industrial food production, without those multi-thousand hectare farms and appropriate machinery, and the labor force is too expensive anyway, but there's so many unemployed around, but that is left as aside. So what is the situation then? For example, in this film you mentioned there, or I think in the third part of that film, it's mentioned that the French government is especially comes in an interview where the minister says we cannot feed our world population if we don't have those genetically modified seeds, and so on and so on.
Sounds like another allegation to me.
I'd like to just say to you that if you think that they're feeding the world today with this high-tech, biotech, genetically modified seeds as the answer, it's actually because so many people buy into this. I like to know why the UN just stated last year, at the end of last year, that on this planet right now today, there are 870 million people who are not being fed, which to me just indicates that this system of industrial food production has got nothing to do with feeding people. It is only to do with profit, making the most profit, and in the process, I don't know how they dare, try to con us with this one. They try to convince us that the method by which they want to grow the food is not only jeopardizing our seed security, and we will not have sustainable food production if we do not have the ability, the food seeds with which to grow the food. It's already in jeopardy as we speak right now. If we don't gather together, and open-pollinated are the magic words for 213. When you choose your seeds to grow your garden, or if you're a farmer, you want to buy the open-pollinated seeds. Why? Because they've not had their genetic information manipulated. They are naturally pollinated. And why should you grow these? Why? Because they are the only seeds from which you can save seeds with which to grow the next future crop in the following years. My question is, I think it's fantastic to see the growth spurt going on with urban farming, with the farmers, with people breaking out, and, lovely to see all this food suddenly popping up left, right, and center. Here's my question. All around the world right now, people are gathering like this to have this exact same discussion because we've woken up to the delicate situation that we face, and especially right now at this time of climate change, and climate change does affect food production. There will be global food disruption. It is happening already. It is the tip of the iceberg. It hasn't even really got started. If we don't get on with it and start feeding ourselves and start saving our seeds, and even let's just do it bioregionally on Vancouver Island, we want to save ourselves. We're going to be much happier when we do it, because I'm telling you, it is a good life going back to the land. We came from the garden. It's time to go back to the garden.
Yes.
It's that simple.
There was a additional comment on the GMO. Did you want to make a comment?
I just wanted to comment about, I think the hungry people is more a distribution of food problem rather than necessarily having enough food to go around. It seems that, there isn't necessarily food getting to the right places in enough quantity and not disrupting local economies of, their own food to make it there, There's enough food to go around, where they can produce it organically, conventionally, whatever. It's just, getting it there.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%, Ian. I'd also just like to add that every study I've been able to read, including a major UN study that came out a couple years ago, indicates that per acre, more food can be grown using sustainable methods than unsustainable methods. The reason that industrial conventional agriculture is referred to as efficient is because it's efficient economically if you don't factor in the environmental destruction. Only if you don't factor that in. Then it becomes cheap to grow. But as far as food per acre, small scale organic is hands down grows more food per acre. It takes more people, but it grows more food per acre.
David has a comment, and then we have a question. Okay, go ahead.
Just quickly on that. We can feed the world organically, but it's a huge mindset shift. And it's difficult because we're heading for, 7 billion people, and if we don't get food, we die. But 80%, or it's now 82% of all the cereal crops that we grow to feed the animals that we eat. Think about that. Now, this is not promoting vegetarianism. It's promoting...
sort of promoting vegetarianism.
Well, it's promoting matter-of-fact stuff. And we've never had so many people living on the planet. We've never had so many people eating the animals that we grow. We've never had so many people wasting food that we grow, etc., etc. So if we shift all that back to a very basic nutrition diet, I'm going deep now, and this is what I'm already telling grade 3s all this, so I don't care, I don't pull any punches with them, and I'm not promoting vegetarianism, I'm just saying practical thing.
But it sounds like a good idea.
It's a good idea, thank you very much. Oh, I thought you were going to shake my hand, yeah, okay, over there, okay.
We have a question. Take it away.
Okay, this is from Twitter. I'm not sure if LR279 is here in the room tonight or they're tweeting from the Twitter sphere. But her comment is, the best quote of Inorganic We Trust film is, quote, "There's nothing more political than farming. I would extend that to eating as well." So I wonder if others might have a favorite quote from the film. And then this lady here has a question.
Very good quote. There's nothing more political than farming. Let's come back to that and take your question.
Yeah, sure. We have, in the film, there was nothing touched on. You just said about a vegetarianism. And I've always, as a vegan, I've been asked the question or been told, oh, but organic meat is nicer and things like that. So I want to know, can we justify organic animal husbandry if it still promotes violence? And what's the difference between conventional animal practices and organic animal husbandry?
So can we justify organic animal husbandry?
I'd like to respond to all these questions and ask you a question in return. Is it humane? What is it to be human? We all need to ask ourselves that question. And can you actually condone the practices of what the meat industry puts, the suffering, the inhumanity? To me, it's not food. I cannot consider a 6-week-old chicken that is injected with growth hormones and antibiotics, and basically it's not fit, really, to be called food, and we yet guzzle that stuff down at KFC and God knows where. And they showed a lot of chicken in that movie. I think the filmmaker eats chicken. But I'd like to say back to you, Ian, that one of the reasons I feel so passionate about my work in terms of talking about the Vancouver Islands diet, I want to bring it home this year. Bring the food back home, bring the jobs back home. Let's reinvigorate agriculture and secondary manufacturing, because it's all about employment here. And it's enough already. Open your mouth, speak out, start asking for what you want. If you don't ask, you won't get. But Ian, when I know that right now in Peru, the latest instance, they cannot afford to eat quinoa in Peru right now because they're so busy growing it for export. Some countries don't grow any food at all to feed their people because they're growing tobacco for export. And in Canada, we are nowhere near feeding Canadians. How do you feel? How secure do you feel as a Canadian living in a country where the government, we're nowhere close to feeding ourselves, and yet look what's going on, with the instability of the climate. Are you not concerned about these issues? There's a lot of questions to be asked. If you have a question where you're not feeling comfortable about how chickens or beef or veal or whatever happens to them, don't eat it.
All right. Now, yes, time for applause. We have a question here and then a question over there. So go ahead.
Okay. So my question relates to how does one go grocery shopping in an ethical way, or in a way that promotes these sort of values that we're discussing tonight. I'm all for farmers markets. I'm all for growing your own stuff. I happen to live in a condo in James Bay that's north-facing, so I'm limited as to what I can grow. When I walk across the street to Thrifty's, what should I be thinking about as I shop? Our organic ice cream cones is one of my favorite products. I was glad to see them highlighted tonight. Are there other good things I should be buying?
And I think it can be so intimidating to just be like, oh my gosh, like nothing in my pantry. Can I eat anymore? Yeah. And I don't think it needs to be so scary all at once. I mean, of course, the first step is to buy my vegetables. And no, first step is to find a farmer or two that you trust. Shop at a farmer's market, sign up for a CSA. But then, of course, you're going to end up in the grocery store. Then, Michael Pollan, Omnivore's Dilemma, everybody needs to read that book. You shop the periphery of the grocery store. And avoid anything in a package. If it has a list of ingredients, that's a sign that it might not be the best thing to put in your body. Where there's a local option, buy that. Where there's an organic option, buy that. Ask your produce manager why there isn't, if there isn't. I've been known to raise eyebrows with my produce manager at home when I went into my Thrifty's and I said, I forget what the item was, but it was so cheap. And I said, wow, that's not enough for that. That's not enough. The price isn't high enough on that. And the produce manager sort of chuckled like I was joking. I said, no, I'm serious. I won't buy that because I know if it's that cheap, corners have been cut somewhere. And I don't know if it was the farm workers who weren't paid enough. I don't know if it was the farm owner that wasn't paid enough. Maybe it's a loss leader for the store. But anyway, and of course, I think I eat junk food sometimes. If I'm going to eat junk food, organic junk food is still junk food. It's not healthy for me, but it's marginally, it is somewhat better for our habitat as humans. So if I'm gonna eat junk food, it'll be organic junk food. If I'm gonna eat real food, that's what is gonna be the bulk of my diet. And just to go back to the meat thing a bit, I personally do eat meat. I think that meat can be a sustainable part of a whole farm system. I have chickens on my farm. They're part of the rotation. Animals provide some of the fertility on my farm. I raise them well. I kill them myself, and I'm a-okay with that. I'm careful about the meat that I eat, but I don't think that it's necessarily always a bad choice.
And David, you have some additional comments on this, and then we'll go to pick up a question. Go ahead.
So very quickly on the vegetarian and vegan sort of points, and that animals and raising, in terms of certified organic standards and guidelines, the basic quickness to say is that you have to give them access to daylight and shelter. You can't keep them in cages, in batteries, in pens. You have to let them, within reason, wander where they want, like Heather's chickens do. And again, the greatest thing when I was involved on a farm on the peninsula there as a grower, use the chickens as part of the rotation, et cetera, et cetera. And that. So that's the main difference. Whereas when it's not certified, where the vast majority of the food comes from, the conventional food, as it's called, then they can keep them wherever they want. And the presentations I do now, again, from grade 3s, I show them, you know, the chickens getting the beaks cut off, chickens in cages, veal crates, the whole thing. And just to make them aware that, you know, that's not right. I believe not right. It's up to their parents and everybody. We've all got different views. And so wasn't really promoting vegetarian. I'm just saying about the sort of how you believe that in terms of supermarket shopping, yeah, we've been conditioned because of globalization and all that means, and that's a whole topic in itself, and what it means to climate change and global warming. We've been conditioned to supermarket and fast food shopping because of all the people. We need the food quick, we need it fast, we need the drugs, the chemicals, the sprays, the poisons, the pesticides, And so that's what we've got. And on Vancouver Island, 750,000 people heading for 1 million. If we don't get food, we're going to die. So where can we buy our food in the wintertime? Supermarkets and restaurants. We can drive up to a fast food, speak into a little metal box, drive a few things, and hey, we've got food ? So we've been conditioned. And what we're doing in our own way and other people is trying to move out of that, turn the clock back and grow health-friendly local food. That's what we're trying to do. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. There was a question over here and another one. And of course, the film actually had a few comments about what you can do when you go, like which foods you could buy that are not organic, but they have less chance of pesticides, like asparagus was one of them. But if you're going to buy strawberries, make sure it's organic. So you'll have to look at the website, because I tried to write them all down, but it was very fast in the film. But I believe that the website has the information. So yes, your question, please.
Yes, hello. I actually have 2 questions, but I don't know if we'll have time. Yeah.
Okay, start.
So that's the first. For those of us who want to start learning to grow our own food, where do we start with that?
Okay, I'm going to say the seed, but I'm going to defer to our expert panels here. 'Cause I think
along with it's a huge amount of growth we have to do in this sector, and education is key. And fortunately, Kwantlen College has just come in with a seed saving program to teach that as part of growing. But in general, there's a lot of online courses. And now, I know you come from Israel, so I have no idea. Are you going back?
Good question.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's give it Canadian context. Because right here in our community, there are masses of opportunities. You can either sign up for a course, take Gaia College online, you can do that studies. There's the Horticultural Centre of the Pacific offering sustainable homegrown programs where you can do 8-month programs. There's lots of mentors out there still. The 59-year-old farmer before they retire.
I believe the Mason Street Farm was taking...
all these things. And, you know, the best thing to do is just to crack open a packet of seeds and find some good quality compost, put it in a pot and plant that seed, and just start with that one seed. Because as it said in the movie, it's amazing. That is such a transformative thing to do, to grow your first... I know, I experienced it myself, and I never look back. And, you know, it's been an amazing journey, and I learn, all of us, we're still learning. We're on this journey together. It's about being kind to ourselves, and it's also about acknowledging that this is about transition. You don't go from this really crazy situation that we've just woken up to solving everything overnight. We do it in stages, we do it in steps, we're kind to ourselves, and we support the people that are already doing it. We learn from them. But we know it's the right thing to do. And there are no questions. The question to me is, how confusing has this become? In the 21st century, the act of eating has become so confusing that we must realize there's something drastically wrong with the food system. It shouldn't be this way. The most natural thing in the world is to eat. When you die, you will wish that you never wasted a moment when you could have been eating and having deliciousness. Don't waste another moment.
That's good. We have a question over here. Carolyn, can I buy some seeds? I just thought that, do you have some kale? Oh, okay. Sorry, I'll get to that later. A question here.
Hello, fine friends on the panel. So I'm one of your fellow farmers, and of course I appreciate all of what our panel has shared tonight. Today on CBC, around 3 o'clock, I was surprised to be driving from one of the schools that I teach at. I was driving to do a few errands, and the program that I heard was about the waste that we Canadians have with the food that we amazing, hardworking farmers grow. And the stat they gave was a minimum of a third to 40% of the food that we grow is actually wasted. Some of it's wasted on the farm. Some of it's wasted, generally not much. Some of it is wasted in our grocery stores, but the majority of it is wasted in our households. And that food is wasted in our households because we're paying so little for the food that we're purchasing that we actually don't value it anyways. And then we go ahead and we make this food, and then we put it in our freezer bags or in our fridge, and we forget about it. And some of that food, yes, makes it back to a compost, which then goes back to the soil, which of course is really helpful. But maybe we also want to think about that moral belief that we all have that food isn't meant to be cheap. It's meant to be healthy, it's meant to be nourishing our bodies, and it's meant to be valued. So maybe we should start with valuing our food, and in that, all levels of our production and the people that grow it.
Very nice, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we'll have a comment from David, and there's a couple of questions.
Yeah,
I believe there's a Twitter question too. So David, go ahead.
Yeah, great stuff. Thank you. Yeah, value of the food, and that's what I'm saying about turning the clock back when we used to value the food because we didn't know any other ways to grow it. We just, literally we planted a seed and then saw what happened. We progressed from there. But as the population of the world has, progressed and gone up crazy through the roof, we've needed it quicker and we've needed it faster. And when I mentioned about the amount of food we waste, yeah, I think it's more than the third. And I don't carry stats any longer because I just, get on and do what I do. But it's a crazy thing. It's just stupid, and we have to turn the clock back, and it's a mindset. And it's difficult living in the city in the winter. Where do you get your food from? Because, there's all these people, we're all busy. We're all busy doing things as kids with, parents with kids and soccer practice and working and supermarkets and fast food. So it's a mindset, and we're in our own way, and I know you're doing it. We're just trying to turn that clock back and slow it all down, sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah, and one of the things, last thing I'll say to this, and I'll give it to Heather. When I talk to the kids, I say, how long have I been talking? 10 minutes? 10 kids have died of starvation. 1 a minute. It's, it's crazy. Sorry.
Okay.
We have a question. Take it away.
Yep.
Yes. In the back.
So on the Twitter feed, we have a comment from at Vegan Cyclist. Again, thank you for your comments.
Can you say that again? Sorry, couldn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is from his Twitter handle is at Vegan Cyclist. And he says, if the organic movement leaves out justice, honesty, and opposition to exploitive practices, it becomes just a fad. The second comment I want to just put into the room is a comment from LR279 again, talking about food waste, and they recommend the film called Taste the Waste for a good look at that issue.
Taste the Waste. Thank you. And it's a good point about organics. Of course, the film, even though it focused on organics, did ultimately lead us to a political discussion in a sense. And I think we've had a lot of that today. And there's a question in the back. Is that correct? Heather, go ahead and comment while we're getting that mic
I was
set
just
up.
going to comment to that comment from Twitter about exploitation, and I think that the farm workers, in a lot of ways, that's kind of where the rubber hits the road. They are the people who are most directly harmed by conventional farming practices, and also the safety of farm workers worldwide is horrific. I mean, it was several years ago now, but it's stuck in my mind. I forget the year, but there was a bus that rolled over on the Lower a van carrying 14 farm workers in the Lower Mainland, and it rolled. There were no seat belts in it because it had been modified to hold more people than it should have been holding. And so when that van rolled, a lot of people died. And I thought, that's because people want to spend less money for the peppers that those people were harvesting, and it makes me sick. And it's an indication of how we as a society don't value our farm workers, that in BC, as a farmer, I do not have to pay my employees time and a half on stat holidays. Farm workers are exempt from that law to get time and a half because farm workers don't matter as much as everybody else in this room. And because the government's like, well, of course farmers can't afford to pay overtime. That's a problem, that farmers can't afford to pay overtime. That's a big problem. So, I mean, I think that contributor on Twitter makes a very good point, and that is, I gotta admit, in organic standards, that's a big hole. There is not anything in there about how farm workers get treated. Farm workers on organic farms at least are protected from dangerous chemical exposure, but that's all at this point.
God, Jeez, it makes you think there ought to be a union or something. But we have a question over. We have time for 2 more questions. We're roughly. So go ahead and.
Just quickly.
Yes.
So if Mon, M-O-N, means my, and Santo, S-A-N-T-O, means saint, think about what we've been told. But I would like you, if you could, quickly address the Terminator gene for anybody that didn't hear about that, just so they can know how deep we're into this already.
I think you're talking about the seed that doesn't replicate. Is that it? The Terminator. Anyone want to take that one on?
I think the very fact that somebody even came up with the idea of a Terminator gene basically tells us where we're at right now. The fact is that we're playing God. When you take genetic material, DNA, and you start messing about with it and forcing. The thing about what we need to do is go back to nature. It's about it's not about branding and advertising. It's about, the fact is we're natural organisms and we've disconnected to the source of our well-being. And, we have to return to that because we have to have a very profound understanding about the relationship between nature and nurture. And nature nurtures us. So you cannot go around coming up with these crazy, insane ideas about sterilizing seeds because you don't want people to be able to save them. That's why these seeds, open pollinated, are going to make it or break it for us. I just wrote an article in Common Ground on the subject of open pollinated seeds and why it's so important to support your local CD Saturday when you're going to be growing food. Go to the farmers, go to the organic growers, go to the people who are. It's a living seed bank. They're growing out these heritage. This is our plant genetic heritage. And understand these issues, because you can, we will be able to feed ourselves bioregionally when we come together. We understand the critical issues. We don't skirt around them. We address them head on and we say, okay, I think these movies are great. I think these meetings and task forces are wonderful. I think we are sick to death of hearing about how awful everything is and what all the problems are. I do believe we've got the message now. We do know and understand what we face. The question to me is, the time is now. We've run out of time. And are we going to do something about this? Or are we going to go on watching more and more movies, elaborating the same issues? Because I think they're all fantastic, and I do believe awareness is good. But I also believe it's time for action, and there's no more time to waste. What I want to see is action on the ground. Everybody come together, do what you can. Everybody can grow something, or at least support those that do. Our very survival depends on it, whether you realize it or not. That is what we're talking about right now, survival. It's not political. Yes, it's all about politics. But here's the message. Take this one home and plant it. We are going to grow our way around Monsanto. It is the only thing we can do. If you want to see them go on destroying the topsoil and basically jeopardizing our ability to have organic food in the future because they cannot coexist because of cross-pollination. That's why they banned it in Saanich just recently. All the Saanich farmers breathed a huge sigh of relief because Saanich Council said, right, we can't have organic farmers in Saanich if we allow GM crops, because they cannot coexist, because one cancels out the other. A choice needs to be made. This choice needs to be made globally. But at least, let's make it for our island. Let's have the Vancouver Islands diet. We can grow food. We can even export it. We'll have so much we'll be drowning in it. We'll have a fantastic, we won't feel the recession on Vancouver Island because we'll grow our way around it. We'll put those young people in the fallow fields. We'll get the seeds in their hands. We'll eat ourselves deliciously to good health, and we will not end up like our parents with dementia and broken hips and knees cracking. I don't want to go there. Do you? We have this choice to make, and I think it's a beautiful choice. If you make the right choice, we're going to have the good life. We will prove to the rest of the world that what we can do on this beautiful island here on the west coast of Canada could be emulated anywhere, but we can do it. We're ready. Are you going to join in, or are you just going to watch more movies and have more discussions?
Yeah. All right. You heard it here. No more questions. Action. Buy some seeds. Get growing. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. And thank you to our guests. Oh, whoa, we're not done. Hold on. Hold it.
I just wanted to answer that one question from somebody over there. How do we start? And we start by not buying stuff which is not in season. This is the first step. The first step is you're not buying tomatoes right now because tomatoes are not growing here. Tomatoes have to be transported 1,000 miles.
Gotcha.
We are not buying raisins right now here because they have been transported from God knows what, Australia, Chile, or something like that. But they are growing in the Okanagan Valley and even on Vancouver Island if we happen to wait half a year. So this is the first step of education, to know when things are growing locally and buy those things, and not opening up the cookbook and say, oh, today we're making whatever, tomato salad. No, we don't do that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, just quickly, let's wrap it up. Yeah, it's all part of, that's what you're about. There you go. Stepping back in time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. But we can't go without thanking our incredible guests who've been here today. And so I'm going to ask Mandy to come on up here and thank them officially. And we have special gifts for them. So take it away. Mandy, I want you to explain what we have for everybody.
Thank you so much, Peter. A big round of applause for Peter as a great moderator. Woohoo! And thank you very much to David, to Heather, and to Carolyn. Thank you. What a great discussion. Thank you so much for being here. One more thing. We have gifts from Global Village Gifts to thank our speakers, and a big round of applause for Global Village Gifts for their sponsorship, and for the speakers, for you. Go home, eat healthy, and let's make this island an example. Thank you so much for coming. We'll see you again next month.
And don't forget.
Oh, and there's one plug here from Twitter. One more word from Twitter.
No, it's hello. Can you hear me? Hello, there we are. No, it's just to remind you to go to the Open Cinema website next week to see a summary of everything that was done tonight with links to articles and websites and films, and there's a ton of stuff up there, so check it out.
Good.